Now, welcome again, Susan and Mercy, for your time. I want to say thank you very much, and I really appreciate your time. I don't take your time for granted. And I want to say also I'm very, very much grateful for the questions that you're asking me, and I'm so much happy for you. And you've been very beneficial even to the young members of the church. Those are young men and young women, because some of them have been longing actually to know and understand the processes of how actually it feels like to be a member of the church, and how also to be a missionary, and even after serving a missionary, how is life like. And I will be very honest with you, like what I said from the previous meeting, is that life after mission, to me, it became very, very difficult. Very difficult. I don't understand. I don't know about others, but for me, when I returned home, life became very difficult. Okay, difficult in the sense that beside the persecutions that you're going through, both in the family and outside the family, despite those persecutions, there were also internal, serious persecutions. That is internal. That is just within yourself. You know, you inventorize yourself. And you end up sometimes asking yourself, is this what I was looking for? Is this what I served for? And one time, some returned missionaries will bear with me, is that when you want to go serve a mission, there are a lot of things that you are being told. Okay, there are a lot of things that you're being told, and you'll find like everyone kind of like shows concern. You know, everyone wants to be with you and they encourage you to go serve. But when you return from mission, it is actually opposite. It is actually opposite. It is like those people that you are seeing, who are actually initially encouraging you and working hard for you to go on mission, all of a sudden they are looking at you with a very cold feet and cold hands. That one happens. I don't know. Some of them, at times, if you may find people who have no spirit at all, those who are empty, who are only focused on material things, at times they will look at you as a returned missionary, and then they will look at you as a threat to them. Some of them will think that you've come to take their positions. If they were serving in certain positions in the church, they think now that you've returned, you are coming to take their positions and all that. And that is quite unfortunate. Okay, that is quite unfortunate. And as for me, I really thank God for the branch president, President Dominic Kogo. He's not that kind of a person who will think of such like things. But throughout my visits to other branches and other areas within the church units, you will be so shocked that some of the leaders there will actually think of that. Like when returned missionaries come, they feel threatened, they feel very unstable, and they always think that these returned missionaries come to take now their positions, and they will work very hard to ensure that they frustrate this young brother or this young sister, not to be actually around where they are, And as for me, life became very difficult in a sense that initially, my parents and my family members did not understand anything to do with the church. And you remember the story that I had given, that the sister whom I was staying with, I was not actually staying with her no more. So I was just figuring out life on my own, figuring out where I could stay and what I could do. Okay, things became very difficult. But now on the face of the church, when people look at you, they think everything is okay. And at times I will come to church on Sunday. And when you come to church on Sunday, most people expect a lot of things from you because you are a returned missionary. So everything that it's not done, you are the one to do it. If somebody was assigned to give a talk, okay, you will be the alternative because they will know you always have something to say. And if maybe they've assigned somebody to teach a class, that is maybe gospel doctrine class, and that person is not there, you will be the alternative. They will tell you now you can actually fill the gap here because the teacher that was assigned was not there. That is in the church, which is very good to serve and all that. But one thing dawned on me is that after all these things that you're doing, you will give talks, you will actually, teach classes, and you will actually, do whatever thing that they want you to do. At times, some of them will want you to accompany them to other families for home teaching. And you will do that because it is a service, and whosoever is in the service of your fellow being, you are only in the service of your God. But one thing is that sometimes I used to come to church, and you have very serious issues because you don't know where you will, you don't know where you slept, and you don't know where you will sleep, because when you sit like this, you think, you remember, I've not paid my rent, and the landlord has closed the door for me. He's evicted me out of the house, and here I am, I don't have a job, I have nothing, and I need actually to survive, And you will come to church, you seated there on a Sunday, partake of the sacrament. And after partaking of the sacrament, maybe sometimes you will teach a gospel doctrine class. And after teaching a gospel doctrine class, everybody will come and say, thank you very much for teaching that class. It was a very wonderful class. It was a very wonderful teaching and all that stuff. Then immediately after service, everybody goes back to his family, Everybody goes back to their own families, and then you are left there stranded. You are left there stranded. You don't know where to go. You don't know what to eat, where you will get the next meal. So at times you will just be in the church compounds, sleep there until evening as you are trying to figure out what you have to do. Now those are the challenges. Now, despite now those physical challenges, also there was these emotional challenges, because remember, you are a young man who was in school, and you are thinking that how will school come by now? Where will I get, school fees to ensure that I go and revisit my years again in college so that I continue and clear? So it was very difficult. And during those days, President Hinckley had announced, the Perpetual Education Fund, which was supposed to be given to all returned missionaries. But unfortunately, in our area, that is in Kenya area, this Perpetual Education Fund was not yet approved, because you will ask the leaders, they will tell you, unfortunately, this PEF has not been approved in our area. So the missionaries who cleared with me from, let me just say, from 2001, because that is when I returned home, 2001, when this September 11th was being bombed, and New York was being bombed, and that is when I was returning home. And what happened is that we stayed because PEF was not yet approved in our area. So as a returned missionary, when you return home, you have to figure out on how you are supposed to move about things. And I remember when I was going on a mission, there was something to do with CS, was it CS loan, CS education loan, or CS education grant that was given to some returned missionaries. I used to see them. Some of them will go to driving schools, others will go to, these short courses. But by the time I returned, that CS loan was no more. And they were saying this CS loan, it's no more. We are no longer issuing CS loan because we are still waiting for the projections of the PEF, that is the Perpetual Education Fund that the Prophet has announced. So we remained stranded as returned missionaries. We didn't know what else to do, because that was our hope. And especially for me, that was my hope, because I knew if I come back and apply for that, I'll be able to go back to school and finish up where I had left, because I had only remained with 3 years in campus. So I stayed outside again, trying to figure out, and life became very unbearable. I could not actually even support myself, leave alone just finding food to eat was very difficult. And I remember the experience I told you earlier, that looking north, south, east, west, there was nothing to do. I decided, now let me just go and do what we call begging. Let me just decide to go beg. I used to have clothes, some of the clothes that were very dirty. There were clothes that were so dirty because I didn't have a place to go and sleep. At times I would sleep in the trenches, I would sleep in the streets and wake up, very early in the morning, sometimes I will go to a river, one of the rivers called River Sosiani. Those who are in Eldoret, they know what I'm talking about, River Sosiani. And I ended up realizing that in River Sosiani, it was actually a refuge to so many people. A lot of people used to go and shower in River Sosiani, and they will wash their clothes there. And then in the afternoon, you will find them very clean, very clean, and they will walk in town. You think like they are okay, but in actual sense, these are people who are homeless. They don't have houses. They are only struggling in town. Some of them were watchmen working in the night shift. So they saw like there was no need for them to rent a house, since that house they don't sleep in it because they work at night. So they will go find just a place in the garden area, sleep, and when it's time they will go shower at River Sosiani, wash their clothes there, and then in the evening they will go back to work. So I ended up realizing, okay, so this is the style people are living here. So I went there, and as I was in that river discussing with some people, and some guys told me, hey, my friend, how are you? And I told them I'm fine. Where are you coming from? I told them I'm just within around Eldoret, but I came here recently and I'm trying to look for a job. And they told me, look here, if you don't have anything to do, you can join us. So I tried to look at them and was like, what exactly are you doing? And they said, this is what we do. We beg in the streets. Okay, we beg in the streets. We just put on our clothes. These are called our, clothes for work. Yeah. So you take some of the rags, you put them on, because it is around evening hours, because the time during evening hours, that's when people are rushing. They are coming from work, they are rushing to home. So that is the best time for you to beg in the streets. So at one time I took those clothes and I placed them on, and I said, nah, man, if this one can bring food, if it can just help me get some food, then why not try it? So I took those clothes, I placed them on. I looked like a seriously shaggy guy, a madman, and they tell you apply some petroleum and grease on your face, because after all, after this, you just go and shower and the grease will be done away with. So I went there and I sat, and my corner was around White Castle Hotel, just around that street. Okay, between the Mahindi Hotel and West Castle Hotel, that is in Eldoret. For those who are in Eldoret, they know what I'm talking about. And that is where I went and sat with a 2 kg tin. And I sat there, and at times I would pretend like I'm crying, and I would pretend like Saidia, help, and people will pass by and they will look at me. They will be like, this madman, what is happening? Others will drop coins. And I saw one lady who was walking, and she looked at me, and when she looked at me, she was very sorry for herself, and she took 50 shillings. That was a lot of money. She took 50 shillings and dropped it. She did not even drop it on the tin. She placed it in my hands. Yeah, she placed it in my hands and she walked away. And the most that we could get out of that, it was about 400 shillings or 500 shillings. If you get 1,000, you are fortunate enough to get 1,000, and maybe that is a street that people are loaded. So at times, most of the time, I will get away with 400 shillings, or even at times get away with 500 shillings. Then within those 400, 500 shillings, I will go meet with those other guys and discuss with them, and then we'll also see what they've collected. And then from there, we divide equally. Then after dividing equally, then each one of them will take their route, and they will tell you, see you again tomorrow in the evening, or see you in the evening, the same job again. And that is what I did. I did that for at least about 1 week, and nobody in the church knew that I was doing that. There was no one in the church that knew that I was doing that. And at one time, I saw these street boys. They came and it was at night. It was at night, and because I didn't have a place to sleep, so I said, like, let me just beg here overnight. Let me just beg here overnight and sleep in this street. So that street, that's when I saw one of these street boys came, and when they came, they saw me like, actually begging, and they thought I was this guy who was a drunkard, who had nothing, he was like that. And one of them came and he was like, he wanted to take what I had. And they were like, do you know that where we sleep here, we pay for this position, this space here. You cannot just come and sit here and try to occupy a place that you do not pay for. So you need to pay this place before you sleep here. And they were paying 10 shillings. And I took 10 shillings and I gave him. I'm like, look here, man, I don't have any problems. I don't want any issues with you guys. I'm also part of you, and let us just be buddies, And they, okay. And then they told me you'll be paying 10 shillings every now and then as you sleep here. So that day, as I was sleeping, I started crying. In that streets with that cold, and these boys were there because they were not feeling any cold. They were sniffing glue. And I started thinking, and I was like, Lord. And I started asking God, is this what you wanted me to do? Is this it? Is this what my life is all about? Because unlike these street boys, they don't know anything about what I know. Because having served a mission, I've seen different levels of people. I've actually traveled to countries, either through bus or even planes. I've met people and having served as an assistant to the mission president. And then here I am in a most humblest life, dealing with street kids who do not even understand what the scriptures and the Book of Mormon is all about, who do not even have a vision or a goal of themselves, because to them, life is the way it is. What you eat today, that's it. And here I am with them, and I'm sharing space with them, and I'm sleeping just next to them. And I remember praying so hard. And something told me one thing, that you sleep here today, but tomorrow don't sleep here. And this job you're doing for begging, you denounce it. Don't do it again. So I just felt like my heart was telling me that don't do this thing, don't do this job here, don't sleep here. You cannot actually take yourself as low as this. Okay? You've not lost hope in life. Don't live like somebody who has lost hope in life. These are people who have no minds. You have a fresh mind. You have a fresh mind. You can do something. You can talk to people. You are a turned missionary. You can talk to people. Don't live like somebody who cannot talk. And it was like the Spirit was chastising me that why am I accepting something that is low? Something that is so low for me, because I'm very great and I was designed for greatness. Why am I accepting something so low like that? Just because of a situation in life. And I remember that day, I woke up that morning and I went to River Sociani to wash my face. And I went and washed my face and took those rags and threw them away. And I went and showered, and I said, from today, I'm washing myself from this curse of begging, and I'm washing myself from the curse of poverty. Because I'm not poor, and I was never designed to be poor. I am great. I am a child of God. I'm a bearer of His priesthood. I will not go back again. And as I was showering that, and I uttering those words aloud in the river, you are in the river, and those waters are really flowing. For those who are in River Sociani will know. I don't know what has happened today because of climate change. Maybe the waters have reduced. But during those days, the waters were so many. Even people used to swim there. And waters would make a lot of noise when they hit the rocks and all that. So when you make noise and shout to the tops, even those who are on the roads up, they could not even hear what you are saying, because your sound will just be swallowed by the waters. And I spoke and I covenanted and I spoke, victory to myself. And I said, I am not part of this and I will never be part of this. And I took a shower, took a bath, and took my clothes and went. So as I walked out, and I remember it was a Saturday, so when I went to the church, I saw there was institute going on. People were taking institute. There were those who were preparing to go serve a mission. They were going through institute and all that. and I was there, and one of them also, you know, they invited me to join the institute and help them actually understand some of the things. So I taught institute that day, and after teaching institute that day, I saw Brother Wawiru coming in, and Brother Wawiru told me, look here, have you gotten a job ever since you started looking for one? And I told him, no, I haven't gotten a job yet. And what are you doing now? I told him, I'm actually looking for something to do, but I haven't gotten any. And that is when he asked me, like, will you be able to, work in my bookshop? So I said, I'm ready to do anything. So that is when I started working for Mzee Waweru at his bookshop. I worked like, a cashier there. I remember working as a cashier, and he was paying me around 5,000 shillings because it was a small bookshop. He was just beginning. It was a bookshop that had just started, and he wanted somebody who was competent enough. So he thought that I would be one of the competent guys there, and that is how I started just working with him. And of course, he needed somebody who was honest, who will actually take good care of his money and analyze the stock well. So I started working there in a small way, keeping records and all that stuff, the right skill, the same skills that we were taught, especially when you work as an AP, you end up understanding such skills. So I worked there for some time, and Mzee Waweru was paying me 5,000 shillings every month. Then, that was in 2001, 2002. Somebody may say it is little, but for me, who came out of nothing, it was actually something to me. And I started, and I went and rented a house which was about 300 shillings. And I started living in that house. I remember it was a wooden house. I used to call it winter quarters. Okay, it was a wooden house. And that is where I started now life there. I bought a small stove, the kerosene stove. I bought a mattress, and I bought a sheet. And there are also some other few things that I bought also from there, because everything that I came with from my mission, I never had it. I never had it, because some people will come and say, hey, help me with this. I used to help some people, clothes, you give them shoes, they go with them because they think you have. So to an extent that I ended up having nothing, okay? I only had one shirt, that is white shirt that I used to come with to church. And I only had a few t-shirts, that is about 3 t-shirts, and 2 trousers. Those are the ones that I used to have every now and then, and I'll wash them very clean in River Sosiani. And every time I come up with them, people will think I'm putting on a new cloth, because they were ever clean. Because one thing about the river is that you wash all your clothes, you put them in the rock, the sun dries them very nicely. As you take a shower, by the time you finish showering, the clothes are dry. Then you put them on, and you go back to town. And I was just always clean. I'll come to church and people think, hey, this guy is... But they didn't know what I was going through. And the beauty about it is that the Spirit of God was always glowing my face, that I looked like somebody who was so happy. I could afford a smile, and people will not know exactly what I go through. But I thank God to Brother Waweru, Mzee Waweru, that actually he made me stand on my feet, and through just that, responsibility that he gave me. So when I was actually working as a book center guy, I worked for Brother Waweru for about 3 weeks. Not 3 weeks, 3 months. I worked for him for 3 months. And then after that, I heard that there was a recruitment that people were doing. And this recruitment was the security guards. There was a company that was taking security guards. So I went there and tried my luck, because Brother Waweru told me, you can go and try your luck, and then after that you come back to the shop later. So I went there to try my luck, but only to reach there, they were saying we are too short. Especially I was too short to be a security guard, because they needed people who were 6 feet and above, and I was around 5 feet and all that. So they needed people who were tall enough. And that is how I lost my job. I lost the opportunity. I couldn't get the opportunity because I was short. So I came back and continued with Mzee Waweru for the job. Continued selling books from Waweru. And I remember after quite some time, my sister came back to her senses, and she was looking at me and she was looking for me, because she heard that I had cleared my mission, and I was just around the town, and she wanted to find out where I was, because there was a business she wanted to begin, and she needed somebody who had the experience in businesses, and especially in interacting with people. So as she was sitting there, I think the Spirit told her that you need to think of your brother. She has an experience of these things that you are trying to find out. So why don't you call him so that he can be the manager and oversee what you're doing? And that is when now she looked for me. She came to the bookshop where I was, and she told me, this is what I'm planning, and I want you to come and oversee it. So I looked at her and I told her, okay, it's okay, I have no problem. You just tell me when you are ready. And she told me she's ready by next month, she'll be ready. So, and that is when now I left Waweru and I went to oversee what my sister's business was all about. So when she began a business, she had bought one matatu. So I was the one actually overseeing managing the matatu. But as the matatu was moving on, because it was under loan, we were also struggling to pay for a loan. So every money that we will get, all the profits we will get in that matatu, we will actually pay all of it, so that it can cater for the loan. And unfortunately, when I was doing that, unfortunately now my sister became sick. She became sick. She had kidney failures. She had problems with her kidney. And it became so worse, serious, to an extent that now she was hospitalized. And during those days, we didn't know. Way back in 2001, 2002, things to do with dialysis was very hard to come by, especially in hospitals. The only way you could get dialysis was in Kenyatta National Hospital. So Moi Referral Hospital, there was no dialysis there, and dialysis was expensive, because I remember they used to take her for dialysis every week, after 7 days every week, and it was 17,000 every week. You can imagine. So that one, it meant that I was supposed to ensure that this matatu that I'm managing, it was supposed to, we ensure that within a week it has given us 17,000, and then at the same time also we are able to settle the loan that the matatu needed to be paid for. Because the job that my sister was doing by then, she was actually retrenched from that job. She was no longer working with the FPAK, that is Family Planning Association of Kenya. So she was just independent, and she had just started her small clinic, but all of a sudden, then her kidneys became so serious, so she could not actually even work. So that is how it is. So it reached a point whereby the matatu could not actually, provide the money that was needed, and the bank ended up actually repossessing the matatu, because the loan could not actually be paid. So when the bank repossessed the matatu, it meant that now my brother-in-law, who was a civil servant, his salary was the one actually now to ensure that they take care of the medications and the dialysis of my sister, of which after that I ended up realizing that my sister had an insurance policy, that is a health insurance, which also took care of a lot of things during her hospitalization. So unfortunately, after some time, we lost her. She actually passed away, because when the dialysis was too much, and the doctors in Kenyatta National Hospital told us she will not actually make it. What you can only do is let us see her this week. If she makes it this week, then that will be okay. But in actual sense, exactly the way the doctor at Kenyatta said, that is how it happened. She finished her dialysis in Kenyatta. We took her home back in Eldoret. And then after like 2-3 days, she actually felt very bad and she needed to go back to hospital. And because at that time, money was nowhere, we rushed her just immediately to Moi Referral Hospital in Eldoret. And which that is where now in the middle of the night, because my mother was the one that was with her, because my mom also came, and my mom came and she was the one now taking care of her in the hospital, while the husband was moving around looking for money, you know. And in the middle of the night, that is where now my sister crossed the veil. She passed. Her spirit left her body. And that is how she left us. And one thing I thank God is that it is nice that she passed when we had actually amended our problems. We had made peace with each other, and things were okay between us. And I remember even me working so hard, trying to, do some, fundraising for her. And I remember doing a lot of fundraising, both to the members of the church and to my friends. I did some fundraising to raise some money for her so that she can be taken to the hospital. We did that for quite some time. I used to do that weekly. I do fundraising at the same time managing the matatu. And while the husband also was moving around looking for money, and the kids were in school, they didn't know what was happening, but they knew their mother was sick. And that is how it is. Life was like that, and that is how my sister actually crossed the veil. She passed away. It was on 2003. That is when she passed away. And she went in the spirit world. And I hope she's fine, and she's actually doing okay there. So now, when you realize that after she had passed, now that in Eldoret, because she was the only person that I was related to in Eldoret, and somebody that I could actually, rely to in terms of maybe, depending on, because when she called me, at times I used to sleep in her house. I used to sleep in her house because I just managed for her the matatu, and I would sleep in the quarters in the house that she was renting. But now when she passed, I could not longer again sleep there because, I couldn't actually sleep there anymore. And it meant that the family was supposed to relocate to where the husband was working. That was in Kisii. The husband was working in Kisii, and the husband used to come to Eldoret and goes back to Kisii. So the family was supposed to relocate to Kisii. And with me now, I was supposed to remain in Eldoret and check how my life will be. So I was again forced to go back to Mzee Waweru again, to that bookshop. And Mzee Waweru also understood, and he just took me back, and we continued working. And at this time round, he paid me well. He was paying me 10,000 because having known that the responsibilities that I have, and now that I really needed to be very clear with things. So I was just, that is how I was dangling with life. And at times you look at the PEF, you only, when we read from the church magazines, we read from the Deseret News, we will hear how PEF is doing very well in South America because those are the areas that were approved. PEF is doing very well in South Africa, okay? All of a sudden we hear PEF has been approved in Nigeria, that is West Africa. But in East Africa, we ask our leaders and they will tell us PEF is not yet approved and all that stuff. So we were still waiting. And you are waiting, and age is also catching up with you. And here you are, you need also to settle, because since age is catching up with you, you have to start thinking of having a family and settling with a family. But at the same time, you're thinking, even if I have a family, how am I going to feed them? I do not have an education to secure a good job. And at the same time also, I don't have even a nice job that I can actually be able to take care of somebody's daughter. Those are the challenges that we faced. And I remember working so hard and even praying. But the good thing is that I never gave up. At times I will see some returned missionaries there were a clique of people who will be very mad with the things, and at times they will even denounce the church, and they will say, to hell with the church, we are going, let us just go do our own things. And some of them will leave because they were frustrated with life and all that, and it was understandable. It was understandable, because it takes some serious guts and serious grit for one to endure. And always I remembered what the Spirit always used to tell me. Remember, I said it will never be easy, but it is worth it. Remember, I said it will never be easy, but it is worth it. So I had a reason to hang in there. I had a reason to hang in there, irrespective of the challenges that I was facing. But I had a reason to hang in there. Just hang in there. Just hang in there and wait upon the Lord. And that is what I did. Just hung in there, waited upon the Lord. And one time, Eldoret was splitted. So that Eldoret was splitted. Now from one branch, it was splitted to 3 branches. So we had Langas, we had Huruma, and we had now Eastern Avenue, that is the town branch, which was the Eldoret Sociani branch. And we were actually taken to Huruma branch. And in Huruma, when we were there, we started moving the branches very well. And one thing I ended up realizing is that when the branches are still very new, we still have very young units, people tend to become more spiritual. They become very spiritual because their focus is only the gospel, and they really want to know the truth. Okay? Unlike sometime when the church kind of like establishes itself, at times there is this drift of things that some people end up now drifting. They stop focusing on spiritual things and they start focusing on material things, because now that is when now they end up now start realizing, wow, the church can build this kind of chapels, it can build this kind of buildings, then it means this church has money. So what happens, they end up now drifting themselves from spiritual matters now to physical matters. And that is what I saw. People started fighting for positions. People start fighting for positions because they think maybe to become a branch president, you will be actually advantaged. You will access funds. You'll be accessing funds, things like those ones. Those are some of the things I started seeing. And it is quite unfortunate that people will start even fighting and even, speak ill of one another. Speak ill of one another in the kingdom. And it was very sad. I used to look at it and I was like, why is this? And one thing I always say, that I'm quite privileged, and I think the Lord was actually protecting me from all these commotions and contentions, that I was never actually, given that chance, to be either a branch president or wherever. Because I used to see the challenges these people go through. You see how they are being accused by other members of siphoning money. Or maybe you'll find a member will come, he needs help, and they are not patient enough to listen to what the bishop or the branch president will tell them. And if the branch president doesn't actually administer the way it is supposed to be done, or maybe the way the member was expecting, those members will start throwing words. They will start complaining. They will even call the mission president and tell them how this branch president is frustrating them and all that stuff. So you can imagine those are some of the hellish things. A returned missionary, you sit there and watch and you see how these things are happening. And while I was actually struggling, trying to make ends meet and see how I can really stand for my life. And I thank God, because there was a couple missionary who came. His name was Elder Hales. And he looked around and he had to strike a deal with one of the security companies. And Elder Hales proposed that I be employed to guard around the chapel area so that I do not miss, attending sacrament meetings. So that is a deal, a contract he signed by the company, and the companies agreed that we will employ him and we will just allow him to be a guard in your chapel. And that is how I secured a job with a security company, and they were paying me some good money, I could say, because Waweru was paying me 10,000, and now these guys came and they say, now we will pay you 15K. That is an Eldoret, and you're being paid 15,000. And that was good money. So my work was just to be at the chapel there and you know, and President Hales was like, you need, you know, Elder Hales was like, you need to work during the daytime, so that at night time you go and sleep at home, and then from there, morning hours you come to work normally. Don't work at night. So, and that is how I was assigned to work at day shift, and then night shift somebody else will come in. And that is from that job, as I was working as a guard, a security guard there, then from that job, I was able also now to be assigned as an institute teacher now, because I was, what the church and what the leaders of the church there then wanted me to be always available at the church, so that institute can grow, because they had assigned me to work with the institute in that branch, so that institute can grow, and then at the same time I'll be able to organize some of the things in the branch, because since I had a calling that needed me to be around, and one of the greatest calling that I had was an institute teacher. Then they gave me that call in the Huruma branch, and my friend Makuta Pius had gone to Langas, and he became an elders quorum president in Langas. So with me, I became an institute teacher in Huruma branch, and then I became also a clerk, the branch clerk in Huruma branch. So that is how it is. And as a branch clerk, that is why they wanted me to be around there, so that there are things in terms of records and financial records I was supposed to ensure that I handle them, even when the branch president is not around. And at the same time, I'm working around there as a security guard. And one thing I really appreciate is that members that we were with, they were not actually, you know, maligning. They were not members who will judge you for who you are. They will not look at you like with your uniforms and they say you are a security guard, you are a watchman, you know, what are you going to tell us? You know, like in actual sense, I've seen it in some other areas. You will find some members will despise security guards who are taking care of the church premises, which is very wrong, which is actually very wrong. That one is very uncalled for, because I understand what those guys really go through. And members never judged me. And at times even I will teach institute classes with my security uniforms. Yeah, the institute students will come, and then we'll begin our classes. And then with my security uniforms, I'll just teach them institute classes. And with them, they were there. They were really, you know, listening. They were not actually looking at me and they were like, this one is a watchman or whatever. They were looking at me as a brother in Christ, and they were really watching and listening to what I was teaching them. And gladly, most of them that I taught, they actually served missions. Yeah, most of them that I taught, they actually served missions. And that is the good thing about it. So that is how it was until one day a couple came. His name was Elder and Sister Caldereras. They came as Institute CS Couples Institute, and I worked with them so closely. Elder and Sister Caldereras. Elder Calderera was an Italian origin, but based in America, and Sister Calderera was a Chinese. She Chinese or from Taiwan, okay? She was Chinese, and they were a couple, very good family. At times they were funny. At times they were funny, and I liked Sister Calderera so much. At times they were very funny, and these were people who were actually taking things the way they were. And I like it when they came, they started showing concern to me that when did you finish your mission? Why has it taken long for you to go to school? You know, they were like parents now. They were like, you know, they were so much concerned, and they started pushing things to do with PEF. And I remember so many letters Elder Calderera wrote, you know, to the area authorities in South Africa about why they think PEF should be implemented in Kenya. And because there are so many returned missionaries who are missing the opportunities, and some of them even, you know, they are actually, you know, are leaving the church, and they cannot actually work in the church properly because of securing employment and all that. So he used to write a lot of letters to the area authorities in South Africa, and And during that time also, that is when I was actually dating my wife. You know, I was a security guard, and my wife was coming from Kitale. So I met her during institute, you know, faculty trainings. So at times I will go to Kitale for a training, and then that is where I will see her. And that is how I got and I started dating her. And she accepted to be married to me, and we got married. So I married my wife in 2006. That was July. Yeah, it was July 6th, 2006. That was the date that we got married. Okay, it was a small wedding. I didn't have money to have big weddings and all that. So, and I remember the mission president then was President Baja. President Baja, shout out to you. It was President Baja who actually, you know, helped me, and he contributed some money for my wedding. Yeah, I remember that President Baja contributed some money for my wedding, and I thank God for that he really played a role in my wedding. President Kogo too played a role in my wedding, and I really thank God for that. So we had just a small wedding, and my wedding, my Q, one of the most special weddings of all weddings. It did not have all these, you know, glittering jewelry things and all that. It was just me and my wife and witnesses and members of the church at large, all over Eldoret, and it was actually done on a Sunday. Now that is now the thing. My wedding was done on a Sunday. Okay, it was after service. The wedding was announced, and I did it on a Sunday because we had actually to organize on a day when people will be available, and the mission president gave us an authorization to do it on Sunday. He's okay with it, so we did it after sacrament meeting, and all the 3 branches came together, and everybody, you know, witnessed my wedding, and that is how I married my wife. Yeah, I married her when I was working as a guard, you know, and I thank God for her, because she did not look at me as a security guard, or as somebody who is, you know, earning little. But he did not look at me like that. He looked at me as a brother in Christ, and he looked at me and he saw potentials in me, and he knew that even though I was working as a guard, but he knew I had great potentials in future. You know, he knew I had great potentials in future, and that's how I got married to her. You know, I got married to her. So we are married now for, it's over 15 years now, I think, from 2006. You can do your math. 2006 to now 2023. You can do your math. How long have we stayed in marriage? And our marriage is still very beautiful. Every day it's stronger. My wife has always been my confidant, my friend, and my partner. We face things together, and ever since I got her now, that loneliness was done away. Even at times we will sleep in the house without anything, but we were just happy, because knowing that we had each other. We were so much in love, but yet very broke. We didn't have any money. Yeah, we didn't have any money. Sometimes, this is what leaders of the church didn't know. At times we could not pay rent, and we will be evicted, and we will go and sleep in the church. Sometimes we'll go sleep in the church for some time, and then go back again, find a house again, go back and sleep, find a house again, you know. So that is how our life was, and it was fun. The Lord had put grace on us, even though it was difficult. With us, we were not seeing the difficulty. We were only seeing the hope that we had in each other, and what the Lord will provide for us in future. Yeah, so immediately when I married her, then after around one year, then that is when our PEF was approved in Kenya. And that is after Elder and Sister Calderera had actually written so many letters to the area authority. Written so many letters to the area authority, and even, of course, given the authority by the mission president. So he used to intercede, because Calderera was in the ground as a CES couple. He was actually seeing what returned missionaries were going through. And he was actually seeing, at times he will visit a member just to reactivate them, only to realize they were returned missionaries. And because of life, they were not able actually to go to church. were hard to seek ways on how they can provide for their families. And Elder and Sister Caldera really fought for us, and they really struggled to write letters. And their mission was that before we leave this mission, we want to make sure that you guys are prelude to receive your PEF so that you can go to school and achieve what you want to do in life. Yeah, so that is what they really advocated for. And we really loved them so much. We really did love them so much because they finally remembered us. And then after that, when the Chaldees were finished their mission, then the studs came in. These were missionaries from Washington. The studs came in. I think they were from Washington, a place called Ottawa. I don't know, Ottawa, something like that. I have never been to the US, man, but I'm praying someday I'll visit there. So Elder and Sister Studs came, and when they came also they continued with what the Caldereras were doing. And finally, everything now started working out. And finally, we ended up receiving a recommendation that our PEF was now approved from South Africa. And at least we could apply for our PEF. And that is how I got my perpetual education fund after a long time. That was about 6-7 years down the line, okay, after my mission. My mission, 7 years down the line, it is when now I got the PEF now to go to school. So since I had gone to school, since I checked, I saw things the way they were happening. Now going to school, I was not able actually to go back and do laboratory technology. I just wanted something because in the PEF, they were advising us that it is good you do something that you can get into your feet. And after you got into your feet, then that is when now you can advance your goal, your long-term goal career. So I went and looked and I realized that at least if I do computer engineering and fundamentals, because that was something, a new profession that was coming in, that if I'm proficient with computers, then I'll be very okay. I will at least secure something as I will now I will be pursuing my great career goal, because they needed you just take short-term careers that will help you stand on your feet, and then later when you stand on your feet you can pursue a career. And that is where now I did computers. Okay, I went and I did computers in one of the small colleges in Eldoret. Okay, I did computers in one of the small colleges in Eldoret. It's called Elgon View College. For those who are in Eldoret, they know where Elgon View College is. So I went there and I did my computer fundamentals. So after doing for computer fundamentals, and then from there got certificates. That is, the examining body was the ABMA. By then, NEC, Kenya National Examination Council, was not offering anything to do with computers by then, because if you were thinking of pursuing anything to do with IT, information technology, then you were supposed to be examined by an external body, because in Kenya, they had not yet started actually offering information technology or even computer engineering as a faculty, either in the universities or colleges. So I did computer engineering in a college level then, and I got my certificate. I was examined by the ABMA body, a body that is based in London, and I got a credit there on that. And then I was very proficient in computers, and I realized, wow, this is something that I need actually to pursue in future. And that is when now I advanced now from computer fundamentals, that is actually blocks of engineering, and that is when now I advanced to software engineering. So I did actually computer software engineering, still in Elgon View with the body of ABMA. So I did software engineering, and I got my diploma, my advanced diploma. Of course, I got a credit there. And then after getting advanced diploma, that is when now there was this Western University of Technology, of Science and Technology, was being opened. WECO was actually being opened in Western. And they had campuses around Eldoret, because WECO was just an extension of Moi University. So they were opening in Kakamega, Weko, which is now today it's called Masinde Muliro University of Technology, of Science and Technology. But initially it was Western University of Science and Technology. It was called Weko. So when I cleared computer engineering with a diploma, so that is when I applied in Weko. So to pursue my actually information technology, because now Weko, they were offering that in terms of information studies. So I went there and I enrolled and I majored in actually information systems. That is the major that I did, and I actually did that for 2 years, because already I had a diploma, so they were taking us for 2 years. So I did that for 2 years, and which also I ended up again advancing again, because you had to do their diploma. That is a Weko diploma, which I did it for 2 years, and then from there I ended up pursuing a degree now in information technology. So every year those faculties were being introduced slowly by slowly, and we so happened to be among the first students to be able to do what we call information technology in the country, if I may say so. Because even JKUAT was not offering that. JKUAT was not offering technology as such. It was only offering agricultural technology, but not information technology. And they ended up now doing that later. Okay, ended up doing that later. So from Masinde Muliro, I did that, and after doing that, and that is when now I actually graduated from Masinde Muliro. So after graduating from Masinde Muliro, I stayed for some time as a watchman, working as a watchman and being assisted with PEF. And now I started now looking for a job now. And that is when a friend of mine told me where they were working in the supermarket, they needed people who were proficient in computers. And I applied, and that is when now the Asian guy took me. So that was Ketia Drapers Limited. So that is how I secured a job with the Ketia Drapers Limited. So for those who are in Eldoret, they know who Ketias are. So I secured a job with them, one of the largest grocery stores, supermarkets in Western, both in Western, that is Kitale, Eldoret, Kisumu. Now they're in Nairobi. They're already in Nairobi now. So that is where I secured a job with Ketias. So when I secured a job with Ketias, that was when my wife, we already had 2 children. We already had 2 boys. That is Emmanuel and Naman. They were already there, and that is when now I started working again with Ketias. So within Ketias, when I was working, and I think the management just liked me, They liked my honesty, they liked how I was relating with people, and they advanced me into management. And I became a manager of one of the supermarkets overseeing technology. So in one of the supermarkets overseeing technology, that was in Kitale area. The supermarket was called Gigamat. So after that, they took me to their headquarters, still in Kitale. And then from there, it is when one of the directors said, I'm opening a company, which is a software developing company, and I would like you to actually accompany me to open this company. So that is where now I came to the company in Nairobi, and that is how I came to Nairobi. Okay, that is how I found myself in Nairobi. So the company's name was Aspire Software Limited, which we ended up changing its name to Asprime Software Limited. So and that is the company that I've been working with since then, as I raise my family and as the Lord actually is leading me to other things, okay, to other things in the family, and that is how it is. And all along when I started even working, and all along I took my nephew, one of my nephews, at home, and I decided just let him come and stay with us, and let him also join the church and learn the things of the church. And he stayed with us. He learned the things of the church, but unfortunately, because of of unavoidable circumstances, he was not able to go to serve his mission. But God is good. He has also helped him. And finally, I decided he joins me to work with me in the same company. So now he's also working with me in the same company. That is Aspire Software Limited. That is where we are working. That is where Heavenly Father has provided for us. And this is where we are, educating our children now. So my firstborn, who is Paul, is also now serving his mission in Botswana. He was called to serve in Botswana recently. He's now 3 months old in the mission. And I think Botswana now mission is one of the new missions we have now, because it was splitted from, I don't know, Namibia or Cape Town mission. So that is where my son now is working in, and he's serving there as a missionary now. One of my eldest son is my firstborn, now working there and serving there as a mission. And you can see how Heavenly Father is actually can take you through things. And even up to where we are now, we can't say that things are still all that easy the way they are. But I know when we look at the steps behind, we can see how Heavenly Father has been connecting dots for us, And irrespective of where he takes us, we know he's faithful, and he's a God of honesty, and he's the Lord that takes care of his children. And in every step that he takes us in, he will always want us to learn and know what he's expecting of us. And that is one thing I've learned as a young man, and now as a father of 5 children. Okay? Now as a father of 5 children, I know exactly that Heavenly Father really guides the steps of our lives. Okay? He really guides the steps of our lives. Yeah, mercy. So that is actually my life after mission, and that is how my life was. It was actually ups and downs, hills, and all that. But at times, sometimes I say, if I could change things, okay, if I could actually change things, especially on how we can really handle the lives of these returned missionaries when they come back from mission, I think something needs to be checked there, because there is a loophole that at times, if we are not careful, we end up losing a lot of brothers and sisters because of, life challenges after mission. But I thank God now that a lot of things have been introduced. It's not like during our time. Now we have what we call pathway. We also have what we call PEF, even though with us it took some time for us to wait for it. Now we have PEF, which is there, and there are also other scholarships that I see always being advertised, which is actually good. And I think our returned missionaries now, they have a reason to serve the Lord properly even when they return home, and they have a reason also to focus on their studies as per what Heavenly Father will require of them. The BYU pathway has become a very big blessing to most members of the church, a lot of members of the church, because now in Kenya, education is very expensive. For you to attain university education, you must at least, school fees, that is for first semester, you must at least have over 200,000 Kenya shillings. That is about 2,400 US dollars. Can you imagine? And where do families get that? Because some of the subsidies that the government then used to offer, with the new government, they've come and they've taken away all these subsidies. So parents have actually to cater for their own children's education. So it looks like even the university education in the future, it will be education for only rich people. Those who are below the ladder of economics, they may not actually be able to attain university education. So it has become ×3 more expensive than what we can think of. Yeah, it's too expensive right now. But Pathway has become a big blessing to most members of the church, and to both non-members of the church and members of the church. Pathway is a very big blessing. Seriously, is a big blessing. And I will tell you that because I'm also a student, a Pathway student. Even now, I'm also a Pathway student as at now, and I'm majoring in applied technology. Right now, I'm almost finishing my first semester, and I'm advancing. You know, technology, you have to advance, and I'm taking advantage of this of this opportunity that the church has actually offered. And I think this is God, and He's really taking care of His children here on earth. And what I want to say, Pathway has been a blessing in Kenya, and it is a serious blessing even in Africa. Okay? Even in Africa. I'm telling you, education in Africa, I don't know, but our governments, I don't know why they are making these things to be so expensive for their citizens. Education is so expensive here, you wonder. You wonder. Education has been commercialized. It is somebody's business. But we pray that Heavenly Father will always provide a way so that His children can be cautioned, so that they may attain what Heavenly Father expects of them. Okay? And at times I ask myself, if it is me that I was able to attain what I've attained now, if it is me who was at one time, after serving a mission, I went and begged in the streets, I slept in the trenches, I showered in the river that flowed with sewages and all that, but I showered there, and the Lord protected me from that. I never had any skin problems. I never had any skin problems. If it is me that the Lord actually took me there, took me from there, and this is what I'm telling you, it is after my missionary life, after serving a mission. And you know what mission is, especially being an assistant to the mission president, you know what it is. Okay, you fly with aeroplanes, and by then we had 5 countries in Kenya Nairobi mission. As an AP, you will fly to these countries and all that stuff. You live in very posh apartments and all that stuff. But even though out of those posh apartments, the biggest thing as a missionary is the spirit that you will always feel. And I will always say that the spirit I felt in the mission, it is the same spirit I felt even when I was sleeping in the trenches. It is the same spirit that I was feeling even when I was in the street begging for money. It is the same spirit. And now that Heavenly Father provided a way, and now that I can say I can, stand, and I call myself a parent, He has given me an opportunity to be a father of people, of my children. That is a favor He has extended to me. Okay? I really thank Him. I really thank Him, because sometimes in life, things may mix you up to an extent that you lose even the vision. And if I was sleeping in that street, that spirit that told me you are bigger than this, stand up, dust your feet and move forward. You are greater than this. The priesthood in you is greater than this. It took the spirit to chastise me, to get out of the street. Okay? It is the spirit that chastised me to get out of the street. Can you imagine? And now that I'm here, I could see for sure it is actually God that actually prepared all these things. And I thank Him for that, and I thank Him for His life, for my life, and I thank Him also for the life of my family, my children, my wife, and I also thank Him for the life of my parents, and especially my mom. I thank them very much, and I thank Him very much. And I know even for my life, as I strive forth even to ensure that I attain the highest point of my studies as I am taking through BYU Idaho studies, I know He is also leading me and taking me through the channels that I may not actually be aware, but I know He's preparing me for something that is great. And this I say in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Susan, Mercy, that is it now for how my life was after mission. That is how my life was. I know I've not actually touched on so many things. I've not touched in so many things, but that is just an idea for you to get how actually I went through, what I went through after my mission. And that is what a lot of people go through, and especially African missionaries. Most African missionaries go through challenges after their mission. Okay? Because I've had a situation whereby American missionaries and Canadian missionaries that I served with my companions and all that, those ones who are my companions, at times they send me videos. They used to send us videos how they were received when they came from their missions. With them, when they are received, they are being seen as heroes. And some of them are promised things for them to go serve a mission. Somebody will be told you, when you finish your mission well, you return with honor, I'll buy you a car. And some of them, their girlfriends force them, to go serve a mission. That is what I'm told. That is what the mission president used to tell us when I was the assistant to the mission president. You'll tell us some of these ones, they are forced by girlfriends to come and serve a mission, And I remember there were some that I used to see. Even I tried encouraging them as an assistant to the mission president, that they were giving up because the girlfriend that promised him to come serve a mission, that girlfriend is now getting married to another returned missionary, And this guy was so broken. He was so much in tears. And he felt like now, even this mission is not. So his mission was his girlfriend. His mission was not the mission that he was serving. You can see that now. You can imagine now. These are the different classes of people that you meet in the mission. And then after mission, one individual, his life goes up, and another one, his life sinks down. Okay, if he doesn't get enough support, they may not find themselves actually taking antidepressants. Okay, and that is the situation. That is the situation. I may say there are some whom we've lost lives. There are some that their lives, actually, they lost their lives. And I could say my friend Piers Makuta, this brother was actually on antidepressants. At times he will teach institute classes, you'll think, but that was the only reason for him to console himself when he's teaching those classes. Okay, but he was so much into antidepressants, and this is a guy who finished his mission way back in the 1997. Finished his mission in 1997. And at times he sees some of the people he served with, some of them have gone to the US, some of them, secured good jobs and all that stuff. But with him, he was struggling and wondering exactly what life has to offer for him, And he was so much stressed, so much stressed to an extent that now he died of cardiac arrest. That is what I'm being told. The family says that he actually passed because of cardiac arrest, And this is a very serious thing. That's a very serious thing. And I think as our local leaders, they need actually to think about this. In actual sense, returned missionaries in Africa are really going through serious challenges, especially those whose families are not members of the church. They are on their own. They are really facing serious issues. For me, I'm just one of the examples. And my example might have been at least better. There are those who went through serious things than me. There are those who ended up even became armed robbers, and they were locked by the government. Some of them are serving their sentences in prison up to now as we are talking because of the frustrations of life. So that is how serious it is, and every time when I speak, when I wake up and I pray the Lord irrespective of my circumstances, and I find myself still a member of the church, I always thank God, and I always, I'm always grateful for my life. Yeah, so that is it. But that one does not mean that Heavenly Father has left us. No, it doesn't mean that Heavenly Father has left us. He's still there. He's watching. He cares about us, and He understands our infirmities. So thank you very much, Mercy and Susan, for your time. I think we are going to meet again next time. Otherwise, thank you very much for your time and for your eagerness to understand and listen to this experience. And for those that are watching us, I would just like to say also thank you for taking time to watch this video. And please, I will need your support to actually subscribe and hit a thumbs up there. It will mean a lot to me, and I will really actually thank you for that. And I'm looking forward even to be part of the family and part of the family of this channel that we are having. Otherwise, thank you very much, and God bless you. Have a victorious week. Thank you.